Hi, everybody. This is Martha Creek. You can contact me directly, marthacreek.com. The email's there, the phone number's there. I'm here alive in this incarnation to serve those who serve and to serve with those who are serving. And I have a very high vision in that mission to get empowered teachings to the whole of the planet. So these mentoring moments with Martha are made and devoted to that mission and that vision. And I'm delighted to be anywhere close to these people I get to hang out with. Very honored today with a longtime friend, colleague, sister soul, Reverend Marty Newman. She's serving in a ministry down in Florida. I've known her for many years, and we'll talk a little bit about her life, her course, her path, and her calling, and sometimes the torment of our calling when it's so big, and our doubts about whether we can actually accomplish it or not. So stay tuned, and thank you, Marty, for taking the time to do this today and for bringing your wisdom, your insights to this. So whoever's listening, the intent is to support them in whatever they're about. And they don't have to be about what I'm about, or they don't have to be about what you're about, but to encourage them to be about whatever they're about, and to get some kind of wind beneath their wings to Godspeed in that. And if God is not your word, whatever speed is in your experience for that, whatever you prefer. So let's talk a little bit about it. Marty, your own calling, what you're about, how you've served in ministry, what you believe you're here to do now, and how you're doing it in some of the frustrations or the doubts, the darker moments of that. So open it up. Let's just see where we go here.
Hi, Martha. It's always a delight for me to talk with you. And as you know, I seek you out many times during the year for feedback and support and coaching. Um, well, I am, of course, I absolutely had a definite, clear calling to ministry through Unity as a minister in Unity Churches. And for the first few years, it clearly was about primarily Unity Principle, and it still is practicing Unity Principle and growing deeper and broader in spiritual principles generally, and practicing those. But in my second ministry in Michigan, in Kalamazoo, Michigan, I've always had a heart for justice. I mean, beginning certainly with the civil rights movement, sitting in the quadrangle on campus at Duke University during civil rights, and then again during the feminist movement, very high participation in that in Topeka, Kansas. And not a founder, but one of the original and early people in starting what used to be called the National Women's Political Caucus. And which started in Wichita, Kansas, and then finally, kind of then many years later, moving into ministry, and that being my full passion, but in Kalamazoo, recognizing the need to be involved in social justice and getting very pulled into that through congregational organizing. And we were connected, the association in Kalamazoo was connected with the Gamaliel Foundation out of Chicago. And and my personal mission that I hold now is one that I got from them, which is changing laws in favor of the oppressed. And we became, in Kalamazoo, in my church, very active in Michigan and in our county that we were in Kalamazoo, in education, in housing, in other important issues, but those were the two primary ones that were my concerns. I became very engaged with particularly infant mortality. Kalamazoo had the third highest rate in the state of Michigan in infant mortality, and it was almost always African American babies. And we worked for 5 years through the legislature in Michigan when Jennifer Granholm was the governor, to try to create what's called the Nurse Family Partnership, which is a very old and very, very effective program in rescuing young mothers, who, particularly single mothers, but just young mothers. And they pair a nurse with a mother a pregnant woman in her first trimester. They connect with them. They go with them through the child's second birthday, and they coach them. They get them to stop smoking. They get them off drugs. The history is that women who go through that program, young mothers who go through that program, save the counties or whatever they're in. They save us $4 for every dollar we spend on them in any kind of social services. They themselves are more likely to finish their schooling and even take advanced schooling. They are less likely to stay on welfare. Their children are less likely to become involved in the juvenile system. Their children are likely to go to college. It's an amazing program, and it is all about affirming those young girls. And they work with them to set goals. And I remember having a meeting with them once, and the women, the nurses who do it, and one of their things is that we always get the girls to set goals. And I said, so do they ever set goals that you think are not important? And they said, oh yeah, all the time. And it's always in regard to some man, But if we can focus it down, and one of the young girls who was there as an exemplar said, my goal then, outside of trying to get this man to marry me, was to get cabinets in my kitchen. I didn't have kitchen cabinets. And how just doing that and achieving that totally changed her focus and her whole, her whole goal in life. And anyway, so, and we were successful in creating a three-way private a partnership of private money, county money, and state money in establishing that program in Kalamazoo County. And it was very beneficial. I found myself, because I'm a talker, and I found myself going to the Michigan legislature for various committees. I mean, there are committee after committee after committee after committee working through a budget, and it's a line item and it gets struck and you got to go again. And it was, for 4 years, I went to Lansing probably at least once a month, if not more than that. But I was passionate during that time about everything I was doing because of that. And it was temporary, but at least the temporary success of that program was very, very rewarding. So I haven't been engaged in something like that since. And
well, let's pause here a minute, because even though it's temporary, it had an impact that's proven here. The efficacy of that is outstanding. To look at that, to reflect on that, and whatever lives were affected, systems, county, state, whatever was involved in there, was absolutely clearly benefited there. So I think that's an important message today, that it doesn't have to be for a lifetime, that our projects, our ideas, our skin in the game, or whatever you want to call it, can have a beginning and an end to it, and that could be just as successful as something that goes on into infinity. So whoever's listening to this, be encouraged then that if your project made it a year or 2 years or some time period, that it's just as successful as one that made it 10 years or 10 decades. And try not to get caught up in the outcomes of that, but to continue to put your time and energy and effort in here to work like Marty is demonstrating that she did, month after month after month, to a state capitol somewhere to work at this. You also spoke about immediately, Marty, that you've been in a spiritual growth process, a spiritual development process for years, and that you're still at it. That these principles that called you into ministry, that you're still practicing that. That is so inspiring to me for many, many reasons. That I believe a life on purpose, which I think I said at the beginning of this podcast and video, is a life on purpose means I'm doing things consciously, deliberately, intentionally, that I believe benefit myself And absolutely, I'm clear enough minded to know that anything I do to benefit self benefits the systems I'm in. It benefits the human species. It benefits a conscious evolution. So not only am I growing my own soul's progression and my own consciousness, I'm contributing majorly and masterfully to the consciousness of an evolving consciousness. So there's a short answer is what we do matters. What we pray matters. The action we take matters. And it's either going to strengthen us or weaken us. It also shows your passion for this, Marty, that you have got an element of joy in this. And whether the element of joy is that you're true to your calling, that you're doing what you're divinely appointed to do, you're doing where you can find effect, you're serving where you can find effect, and measuring effect, which is a missing piece for me in some, that they never ever stop to see what's been the effect of our efforts. Where is the efficacy in this? So it's very inspiring and enlightening for me to hear you, to witness you, first of all, and to see your passion for this, including things like I'm still a work in progress. I'm working through things. I'm going through things. I'm growing through things. I'm still learning, and that no amount of time in the movement or no amount of time on the earth, no age ever arrives us at a place to say that I'm complete here, to say, no, I'm still an evolving being. And there's still things for me to learn and ways that I can serve that are to be discovered yet. So speak about then what's happened since Michigan and your movement around. I know it was included Ohio, now into Florida. So this calling for justice, this calling to enact law, to make law to serve the oppressed. How did you say that? So how is that still?
Yeah, pass legislation, pass laws in favor of the oppressed,
Yes.
because the people on top are always going to be okay. Always going to be okay. And I'm in favor of creating safety nets for the poor and the disadvantaged, so that they have a quality of life at some minimum, perhaps, but they have a quality of life. I believe everybody deserves that. Not everybody will take advantage of it. I know that. There are always going to be people who fall outside of whatever is offered, but many people, the more people that we are able to support and encourage to move forward as human beings, the better off we are as a whole society.
Yes. So where's your focus now? What are you doing from where you are? And what are you noticing? What are you learning from it?
Well, what I notice now is a tremendous amount of tension in that I have wanted to repeat what happened in Kalamazoo in the church I'm serving now. And the politics here are very, very different in Florida than they were in Michigan at that time. And this is a much more conservative and I would say even radical element here, much more visible radical element here. And now that we're in Black Lives Matter, I mean, that's the thing that has certainly caught my attention since I've been here as an area that I felt needs to be served and I feel called to serve. And it's been very difficult because it's dangerous. I mean, the people who go to stand for Black Lives Matters are really threatened by very aggressive people who their stand is supporting police, that police life matters, which of course we know that they do. But Black lives have not always mattered, and this is this time in this place. I'm teaching right now, I'm teaching a class in my congregation on and calling it Let's Talk About Racism, and using Ibram Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, and also using the book titled White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, and then other resources. And I'm 75, and although I'm pretty strong and in good health and stuff like that, I have to tell you, I've been afraid to go. I've been to one demonstration But the opposing side, the people who are opposing Black Lives Matters, who misunderstand what they need and want, really, in my opinion, have been very aggressive, and people have gotten hurt and injured, and I'm not sure I'm willing to do that anymore. But the one thing that I feel I possibly can do, I'm still working on it, I haven't done it yet, is that we do not have independent reviews, councils or committees or whatever they would be called, for either our county sheriff or our city police. And I feel that that is essential. And we have not had a lot of police instigated violence here, but we have had some very unfairness, particularly in terms of the mentally ill and the Baker Act, and which means that police can commit people to hospitals, but very often, which is, I'm not sure is a bad law, but in the process of that, very often people have gotten shot or killed or hurt. And so, I'm very much in favor of police reform, in that I'm not sure that police are the people who need to be responding to every 911 call. And so I really feel a call to go before both of those bodies and ask that, and ask that, we become involved in that. But I'm also aware that you don't just show up at a city council meeting or a county council meeting and ask people to do stuff without having some relationship with them and know what is going on. And with COVID and with the demands of serving my church during COVID, I haven't been willing to take the time to go do that. And as we were talking before we went on the air, the tension that I feel between what I believe is my truth, that there really is no quote right or quote wrong in terms of opinion. And I mean, I do believe that. It's hard for me to see it and accept it many times, but I do believe that. That and things that I just know in my bones need to be changed. One of the things I was reminded of as you were talking was that wonderful Jewish thing from the Talmud that says, do justly, have mercy, walk humbly, basically do what is yours to do. It is not incumbent upon us to finish the work, neither can we desist from it.
Yes.
And the thing I know about the work that happened in Kalamazoo is, although it only lasted for 2.5 or 3 years, it saved lives. I know that it did. I don't have any statistics or even any anecdotal information, but I know that it saved lives. And so I really feel called to do that. And I feel I have been unwilling to do what I have to do it. But I do get angry about the injustice. I get, I mean, sometimes almost overwrought. I actually had an exchange yesterday with a woman who, I don't know where she stands, but her husband, I know, is vehemently supporting our current administration. And, he just vehemently does. And it hurts me because he's a smart man. He's an intelligent man. He came to Unity right out of Catholicism about 3 years ago, graduated from Notre Dame. And I'm like this going, okay, I don't have anything against Republicans. I've got several Republican friends who are perfectly reasonable and sane. But, how you can ascribe to the principles of oneness that we teach, to accepting, that we need our spiritual growth is about growing in understanding and love and compassion and those kinds of things, and stand with this current administration is just beyond my comprehension. It just is. And I can, my intention, of course, is to accept and love these people, but I went off the rails yesterday afternoon with this man's wife. And didn't really clear it up before she left. She came to the church to take part in the service I happened to be recording at the time. And it's just like, I'm embarrassed when I do that kind of thing.
Well, you're speaking about the human spectrum, honey, and that's a part of our growth, and that it's the same thing, and that to believe that because somebody's a part of something, or a movement or something, that they ascribe to the tenets of it. It's like, it's not true. It's
No, it's not.
extreme of that. Like some of us are going in that direction, and some of us are like claiming to go in that direction, and we're not going we're going in the opposite direction, even while we're claiming to ascribe to that without ever looking to see, where am I applying this in my life? And our own human evolutionary processes, our human learning processes, it still says, I generally ascribe to a notion of oneness, that there's one whole here, that there's no other. And I still get angry and see the other and can't comprehend the other and get frustrated and irritated at the other, although I generally believe that there's one whole organism here and that we're learning from it. And you're speaking to the reality, Marty, of our humanness, that even though we have spiritual ideals and spiritual ideas and things that we preach, teach, live from, and ascribe to, and generally practice and have some desire to attain, that it comes over time, that it's not a tick box exercise, that we don't just arrive somewhere. And this comprehension, it leads me to believe, it leads me to think about, again, my most primary spiritual practice for the last 2 years has been to accept the mystery of it. To accept the mystery of it. And and accept first is a trigger word for some. It means that you don't do anything, that you're a couch potato, that you're a doormat. And it's like, it's nothing to do with that. But it's to accept the mystery of it, that says, I accept that I can't comprehend this. I accept that the dots do not connect for me. And I accept the differences that we have in the human spectrum. And I cannot continue to reference that and get too externally focused or too other focused, because it usurps my own power. And it usurps my own good sense and my own sensibility about what I am going to do, what I am about, and what I'm going to do today, regardless of what they do, regardless of what they're thinking, regardless of what they ascribe to, regardless of what they believe is theirs, belongs to them. And I'm going to do everything within my power to bring balance to that, to bring a new system to the oppressed, to bring new laws to the oppressed, to teach and get empowered messages out to the whole of the planet, all the while this is going on. So your admission here is part of our humanness, I think, and that I hope people listening will give themselves some slack about that there will be times and moments of outrage, enrage, irritation, frustration, anger, and everything else known to humanness, known to our life experience, and none of them define us. So it looks like it's bringing us back to principle, even here and now, to say, even in those times when you're mad, when you're embarrassed, or whatever you said, you're ashamed of yourself for that, you regret that, how to use principle to navigate through that. So what's another option for you besides going any further into self-hate?
Well, yeah, and somewhere in there you were talking about the continuing evolution. It amazes me, as long as I've been in, consciously began my spiritual search. I think we're always in one, but I consciously began it about 40 years ago. And it just, to realize how long it has taken me to reach some really bottom level truth about how to be what it is I've been saying I want to be, or that I am, or that we are all of these years. Um, and I mean, and for me, it's about, and it's, I'm going to diverge a little bit because I had a really transformational experience last December, um, around my mother, who has been my lifelong seesaw of transformation and torment. And I've spent years and years and years, loving and forgiving her, and lots of wonderful transformational moments around that and with her and all of that kind of thing. Sometimes being able to walk my talk with her. And uh, and last December, I had the most, during a meditation I was doing on the energy of love. I was, eh, I was meditating, and somewhere in there, actually saw my mother laying in her low bed in her nursing home. She's 97. Um, I saw the pink light of love, which I was a model I was using at the time. The pink light of love just streaming from her heart. And all of this time, I've been trying to make me love her. And for the first time, I saw that she is love. My mother is love. And and my being unable to see it all of these years because I didn't like her behavior was my problem, not hers. She is love. And it has been much easier since then. And every time I think of her, that's how I think of her now. I mean, I just don't even think of her as any other way. And I saw her after that, and our being together was totally different than it's been for years. And every time I've been before, she's just been unpleasant and awful, and she's blind and has been for about 20 years. And but I never wanted to go. I dreaded to go. She's mean, she's unpleasant, she's aggressive, she's, all of that stuff. And what I realized after I saw her this time, and we had such a wonderful visit, really, um, that being blind, all she has to go by is what she's feeling. And she's very intuitive. And I would walk in the room and she would get the anger and resentment, and so that's what she was responding to all those years. And so it's been much easier for me, and I mean, I'm just much quicker, actually, in being able to be compassionate about people. And so I'm going to talk about this too, because I've been very, very, all through this administration, with people in my congregation who've complained and other things, about how important it is not to speak and dwell in the negativity about the personalities. And it's absolutely fine to disagree with policy and principle and behaviors and those kinds of things. Absolutely, it's fine. And I feel I should. And I mean, I want to, when it's called for. And at the same time, to really see all of that, as I started this year 2020, oh, this is the year of 2020 vision. We're going to see everything clearly. Well, I think we are. I think we're getting a real clear mirror with Klieg lights about who we are, really, as a nation. And so when somebody shows up in our life as a teacher for something that's really very painful for us, what I can imagine is a tremendous amount of pain they must be in to reflect that back to us. What a tremendous amount of pain they have to be, I believe they have to be in. They may not know it, or be able to give voice to it or be aware of it or feel it, but tremendous amount of pain they are in to reflect that anger, that, disassociation, that, all of that. And I can have a great deal of compassion for them now. And although I've been real careful about not speaking negatively about them, I did go to one protest well over a couple of years or more ago, and I made very clear statements on a big piece of cardboard. I stand for diversity, honesty, kindness, compassion, but all of those kinds of things that I thought were positive. And I went to this demonstration, and there were a bunch of people on one corner where they commonly are, and they had very, very negative signs, and signs actually saying things that were not true. And I decided I wasn't going to stand with them. And I went across the street, and I stood there all alone with my sign. And the interesting thing for me was that, most people drive by, they don't notice. They might catch it out of the corner of their eyes and quickly look away. But a few people would come by and they would like wave and thumbs up and smile. And some people rolled down their window and said, thank you and stuff like that. And but across the street, people were rolling down they threw drinks on them, they cursed them, they gave them the finger. They were, they got the negativity that they were standing for. It was a real clear demonstration to me that just doesn't get us anywhere. It
Well,
just
that's a
really doesn't get us anywhere.
of your own intuition too, as you spoke about it in your mother using her own intuition, that says, I'm here for a different reason than they're here, and I'm here looking for a different outcome than they're here looking for. And I don't have to judge and hate them for it, but I can't stand here with them either.
No, I couldn't do it. So I haven't been. There's a demonstration up there every Friday morning. I haven't been back because I'm just not willing to stand with that, and I'm busy. It's like, yeah. But there is. The conditions are aggravating and stupid from my point of view, and I really do have a hard time saying, I get really angry about it. It is so unfair and it's ridiculous, and doesn't serve our 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 country, our city, ourselves, our communities, our people as a whole. It just doesn't, from my point of view. And so when that stuff comes up and I see it on television and I get reminded of it and stuff, and I sometimes just get really angry. And, that is just the opposite of what I stand up and tell people to do on Sunday morning.
Well, in progress. So think about this. Our time's coming to an end. So we bless this message, whoever's listening, whoever's got it, that you've got some new inspiration, a new framework, a new insight, a new idea, that you've got wind beneath your wings to follow your own mission, your callings, to live out your visions, to accept the human spectrum in its entirety, and to know that just because we have differences, that we don't have to make them wrong and go up against them, and that battling anything and going against something is not going to serve our outcome. So this message to stand for something, which reminds me of Mother Teresa and other world leaders, the civil rights leaders, that was clear-minded about that, to stand for whatever you stand for. So thank you, Reverend Marty, for standing or for what you stand for, and the uncommon stamina for 40 years of this, of your own professional, personal, conscious development, and serving as a leader in many, many ways to shine light on the possibility for a new earth and a new way of being here on the earth. I thank you. I love you. And I appreciate you and your ministry, what you do. So put on the recording how people can contact you, find the church, whatever you want to do here. So put that on the recording if you want it on here.
I'm at Unity Port Richey, Florida, Unity Spiritual Center, Port Richey, Florida. We have a Facebook page, and our website is the Facebook is Unity Spiritual Center, Port Richey, and so is the YouTube channel. And the website is Unity Port Richey. The others have Spiritual Center in them. This is Unity Port Richey's our website. I can be contacted through that. I would be happy to, there's a contact page there, so you can call or whatever. I'd be happy to talk to them. Can I say one more thing that you awakened? Because you were talking about accepting the mystery, and that's been a practice for the last couple of years. And when I first got into this, I have long considered myself a mystic. But over the last several years, I have noticed that sense of that. not being present in me. And I have just recently reawakened to um, uh, really being able to really grasping. There's no way I can know it all. This is not an intellectual exercise. And the mystery is where the true healing comes from.
Amen, sister. Maybe that'll be the topic for our next mentoring moments with Martha and Marty. Martha and Martha squared.
Well, thanks for doing this. I enjoyed it.
Thank you too. Blessings, everybody. MarthaCreek.com to contact me. Godspeed to you. Whatever you're about, be about it. Get up and brush yourself off and carry on. No, you don't have to do it alone. And parts of it you will, but all of it you don't. And you cannot do it wrong. And it's going to take longer than you like. Till we meet again. MarthaCreek.com if I can support you. Blessings.